of it as extra rights, because the Ninth Amendment basically protects your right to have more rights. It's cited in Roe versus Wade, 1973, abortion case, where you have a state law that bans abortion, and you have a woman that wants to get it, but nowhere in the Constitution does it say anything about abortion. And so consequently, the Ninth Amendment protects your right to more rights, things that the framers hadn't thought about in 1787. They knew times would change. Which the 6 constitutional principles most closely relates to the 10th Amendment? Well, the 10th Amendment says that states have reserved powers. Anything not given to the federal government and not denied to the states, everything else, like education or driving laws, they're not mentioned in the Constitution, so that means that they're left over or reserved to the states. And so that is a big federalism right there. Anytime we talk about the division of power between those two levels of government, that's federalism. Number 12 talks about the Westboro Baptist Church. Those people are entertaining, I guess you could call them that. So the question asked, do you think Westboro's actions at the military funerals is protected by the First Amendment? Why or why not? I think Caleb Adolph in my 9th period class probably had the best response to this. He said, technically, yes, that I think they have the right to say that. But then Caleb added, morally, no. And I think I feel the same way. I think technically they have this right of free speech, but certainly I wouldn't do that to somebody who's burying their loved one. And that just is just kind of rude and just thoughtless. So you can answer that one how you choose. But the court said they had the right to free speech. Gideon. A guy breaks into a pool hall, or allegedly breaks into a pool hall. He does not get a public defender because Florida law stated a public defender could not be appointed in a capital case. Capital case meaning a one in which the death penalty could possibly be instituted, so a murder case, for instance. So Florida said you didn't murder anybody, so that means that you don't get an attorney. Constitution doesn't specify what kind of trial you get an attorney or not. So Gideon challenges this and goes all the way to the Supreme Court, and he basically says, hang on a second, so I didn't commit murder, but I still get an attorney. And the Supreme Court said, you're darn right you do. And so basically they overruled this Florida law, and people who committed crimes, no matter if they're capital or not, get an attorney. School prayer, up on the wall in the gymnasium. So it says, why does Richard Garnett agree with the students' rationale for taking down prayer in public schools? Public schools are, what he says, a special enterprise because they are engaged in the formation of citizens. That's what we're doing in this class. Putting the government, i.e. a public school, we are essentially an extension of the government here. I am paid through tax dollars. In a place to favor one religion over another is a tricky situation. So some people may think that it was relatively harmless that this prayer is up on the side of the wall. Most people probably didn't even notice it. However, in a public school, you don't even want to have the appearance of favoring Christianity or favoring Judaism or favoring one religion over the other. Doesn't mean we can't talk about religion. It just means that I, as a public school teacher, or the school in general, can't proselytize or basically say one is right and the others are wrong, okay? The majority rules, or it should. This is a quote from the guy who wanted to keep, actually he made the school prayer back in the day, and he thinks the community wanted to keep it, and he said, most of us want this, and it should. Majority should rule. Well, we talked about majority rule versus minority rights in the first topic, and so, just because most people may think something should be the law, doesn't always happen to be the case. To protect what we would call minority rights. Which amendment was at play in New London? Did the private developer ever build any of the structures that they said? So you had a private company asking a city to essentially clear a space for them. And so what they did is they offered homeowners money for their property. And Suzette Kelo said, I don't want to move. This is where I live. And so she challenged their process of what they called eminent domain, taking public property or private property for public use. Well, the court said that even though this isn't for like a park or a library, the development would have private benefit. The bad thing about this story is they went ahead and took her house, and it was a bad deal. But the worst part about it is the developer never even did anything. They never ended up actually developing the land. So that was the real downer. When did the court finally rule that the people have the individual right to have a gun in their home? That was in 2010. So that may seem weird to you, that you have the right to bear arms. Well, there's some. It says something about a militia, a state militia in the Second Amendment, and so. Do the militia have the right to bear arms? Do people in general have the right to bear arms? And that was the question. And the Supreme Court settled that in 2010 and said, yes, you have the right to have a handgun for protection in your home. And the last one, they interview this expert on privacy. And in general, the Fourth Amendment gives us the right to privacy. What are some things that we use today that actually invite invasions into our privacy? That's like Facebook and Twitter and all the things that you voluntarily give information about yourself. And the one lady says that the right to privacy is an illusion. It's not really there anymore. And you can debate that or not, but it's certainly true that people do not protect their privacy in this day and age, and social media has a lot to do with that. Okay? If you have any questions, let me know. Shoot me a message on Canvas or email me. See ya.